So not because it's mandatory or because it is an obligation, but because we want to do it with a passion and we want to cultivate the passion. So our mission at Brewers is cultivating the passion for lifelong learning. Back to you, yes.
So, okay, thank you, Donald. So, I just want to ask these three questions, to be the main base of this discussion. So the first one is, what's the reason you chose this book? Maybe it's because you're interested in that particular topics, or you haven't heard anything about the author and would like to explore more. And then two, the lesson learned that you can take, basically the key takeaways from the book. And then number three is, maybe if you have 1, 2, or 3 things that you wanted to change regarding this book. Feel free to disagree with the author, or you can also mention things that you dislike, or maybe just not dislike. Maybe you wish to change about the book. So who's going to start first? that's a basic question in every discussion. Okay, Donald, would you like to go first then?
Okay, yes, thank you. So yeah, I will go first. And the book that I would like to share today, title is The Splendid and the File. I will type it. Yep. The Splendid and the File. And what's the reason it is a book about the first year of Winston Churchill as the British Prime Minister. So it was from May 1940 to May 1941, just 1 year. The World War II was until 1945, but the book itself only covered the first year of Winston Churchill, and it was during the Blitz. The Blitz is the air raid by the German Nazi to the British Empire at that time. And during the first year, it was very hard, very difficult time because they endured the so-called Battle of Britain. So that is the book about. And what's the reason you chose this book? Because I think it has a lot of lessons for us. First, Winston Churchill is a great leader, and especially because nowadays we have kind of similar situation in Ukraine. So I think we can learn a lot from this book in terms of leadership, and then in terms of resilience, the ability to endure this difficult time. And also I heard a lot of good reviews about the book, that it is a page turner. So that's why I chose this book. And lessons learned. All right, and lessons learned. The lessons that I learned from the book is, first, the importance of leadership. Churchill is a great leader, I think, knowledge by many people, and by reading this book, I can kind of internalize it better than before, because previously I only heard about Winston Churchill but didn't really know how he was. But reading this book is about, I think, 400 or 500 pages long. It's quite clear how his attitude was and how he handled pressure and how he handled diplomacy. So the main thing for me is a lesson on leadership. And also, actually not just Churchill, but on the flip side, the book also mentioned about Hitler. Despite his evil intention, but actually Hitler himself was a great leader in his own right, in terms of his ability to motivate people. So that's also something that I learned, actually. So both sides, the good side and the evil side, but both of them has a lot of lessons to teach. And there are many lessons that I learned from the book. One of them is that the leader must have faith that at the end you will have victory, despite the situation at that time. The situation is very difficult, it seems like hopeless, but you must have this faith. Actually, one interesting thing in that book is that France were defeated by Germany, and that was actually unexpected because France had a strong army, but they were defeated, and Germany at that time expected that soon Britain would also surrender. But what perplexed them, what makes them confused is that despite being bombed for months, but Britain didn't give up. So this is like, wow, how come? And they just had this motivation. And Winston Churchill, one quote that I would like to read. This is not from one of his speeches, but let me read it. So I will read a quote from the book. Diana Cooper, wife of Information Minister Duff Cooper, told Churchill that the best thing he had done was to give people courage. So this is this conversation, not in a speech. He did not agree. I never gave them courage, he said. I was able to focus theirs. So not giving them courage, but focusing the courage that the people themselves already have in themselves. So that is just one of many things that I want to do. And 1, 2, or 3 things that you wanted to change. Sorry, I missed this. Is it about my life or what? Yes.
Yeah, Donald.
So how I'm going to apply the lessons?
No, just the lesson learned, like the key takeaways that you had while reading this book.
Oh, one more
You
thing.
need to change is there anything you don't like, so you want to change?
Oh, number 3, yeah, basically the thing that you don't like about the book, if you have any. It's okay if you don't have, because
Yeah.
the review said, mostly the review said it's 5 stars anyway, so it depends. It's up to you.
Yeah, I cannot think of anything to change for now because I think it's very good storytelling. Oh, one more thing, lesson learned that I forgot to mention. Winston Churchill, in many occasions, always talk in terms of historical context. So when he made a decision, he always thought, well, in the big picture of history, how is it going to be viewed or to be seen? So I think that is one of main takeaway for me, is that we need to learn history because we will have the big picture. And Churchill was such a student of history. So he always, and when someone resigned, for example, I will read another quote from the book. Churchill again wrote to Beaverbrook, someone who wants to resign, this time in longhand and summoning the judgment of history. You must not forget, in the face of petty vexations, the vast scale of events, and the brightly lighted stage of history upon which we stand. So we may be busy with our day-to-day lives or the details, but Churchill always see from the big context, the big picture of history. All right, so those are from me, the lessons that I learned. Thank you, DS.
Thank you, Donald. Pipit, would you like to ask something, or Edu?
Yes. Question. So, Donald, is it the resilience of the British people? Was it because of Churchill, or are they already resilient even without Churchill?
Well, it is mainly because of Churchill, because of his speeches, because he has the capability in his speeches to give the facts, so not trying to sugarcoat the things, give the reality. The reality is that Germany might invade us. We must be ready for paratroopers to land on our farmlands, on our cities. So he gave the truth, but he also gave the reason for optimism. So people ended up becoming more courageous and more resilient. So yeah, Churchill and his speeches, actually his personal attitude also showed this, because just one example, when there was bombing in London, he told his assistants to go to the shelter, but he himself remained. So actually it's quite risky, right? And he usually went to the rooftop to watch the bombing. So and people around him were worried. What if you get killed? But he seems like he didn't concerned about this. So he himself was brave, and that manifested in his speeches. And one more thing, and because he believed that Germany wanted to kill him, he insisted on bringing a machine gun in his car. So he said that if the Germany came to capture him, he wanted to fight with the machine gun himself. Yeah, so that is just one example. So the speeches actually just manifestations of his own bravery, in my opinion.
You know the book Humankind by Rutger Bregman, right? It's the, yeah, this one. In the book Humankind by Rutger Bregman, the first part of the book also talk about the Blitzkrieg era, right? So, and how British people are already resilient even without Churchill, he said. And that's where the dark British humor comes from. So, you know, British people are known for their dark humor. So one of the notable example, when there was a pub being bombed by Nazi and half of the roof actually collapsed, they still opened. And they put the sign slightly more open than usual. But we're still in business, you know. We have good spirit and our beer is even better, something like that. So in the book Humankind, this one, it shows that dari sononya in we are resilient even in the presence of terrible leaders or good leaders. So I think this can be on the opposite side of.
Okay, thank you, Pipit. Donald, Edo, any comments? Any
Yeah.
questions?
On my previously read book about World War One, there is also mentioned something about Churchill, and especially how he's renowned for his failure in Gallipoli campaign, and that make the top brass of military at the time prefer Churchill as a leader that would not let a great idea to pass because of technical and logistic limitation. So it refers that Churchill is a very daring leader. That's why some of his ideas often fail terribly, like the Gallipoli, because he think it's a great idea, very great idea, but there is a technical limitation and logistical difficulties. So does this book mention any other side of Churchill, like the bad side of his daring action, like that? Maybe about Dunkirk, because Dunkirk also considered a very risky action that he took.
Okay, thank you, Edo. Yes, the book also mentioned the bad sides or negative sides, because nobody is perfect. And yes, there was military failures, like you mentioned. For example, in North Africa, the British were defeated by Germany. There was a famous Nazi general called named Rommel, and defeated British. So yes, there were failures, some logistical failures, and also personally, this is not about leadership, but personally, Churchill had something that is quite negative, that is his personal finance. So he was always in personal financial difficulties, had a lot of debt and difficult to pay. Churchill, yes.
Wow, he comes from a rich family, yeah? He's the descendant of Lady Marlborough, the you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he is from nobility, but maybe spend too much money. I don't know.
Yeah, but he liked to drink alcohol, and actually
Mm.
once his wife told him you should stop drinking, but Churchill, in his with his oratory skill, actually said, "Well, Clementine, his wife's name is Clementine. You must know that I take more out of alcohol than alcohol takes out of me." So yeah, so yeah, that's one thing that he said. So yes, certainly there are negative sides, but actually this is one aspect of Churchill's positive side, that is he was open to new ideas and bold ideas that were ridiculed by others. So for example, in military weapons, he had a scientific advisor who proposed all kinds of strange weapons. For example, aerial mines. So you put mines with parachute on the air. So the military people said, this is ridiculous, but Churchill, go ahead, go ahead. So he was very open with experimenting. This is a book that I shared maybe 3 months ago. So he always experimented with new things, was very open, and because of that, I think it's inevitable that sometimes it ends in failures. But if you look at the positive side, that is because he didn't just play it safe. He took chances, he took risks. So the fact that there were failures, if you view it in a positive light, means that he dared to take risk and didn't just play safe.
Yeah, thank you, Donald. I'd like to make comments about because the book was mentioned by if you have watched The Darkest Hour, the main actor is Gary Oldman, and he got Oscar because of that movie. And then one of his studies was this book, and also Dunkirk the movie. I think some of the parts along that 2.5 hour movie was taken also from this book. So if you have watched it, I think you do know very well whether it's what do you call it? It's correct by historical or not, because sometimes movie they make things a little bit more dramatic comparing to the books. But um maybe have you ever watched the two movies, and if you have any comparison between the book and the movie, perhaps?
Thank you, Diaz. I only watched Dunkirk, but Dunkirk is mentioned just briefly in the book because it happened early in 1940s, after the fall of France. So after France fell, then the British Expeditionary Army at the time, force BEF, had to be evacuated. So the book is not about Dunkirk because Dunkirk happened early, and after Dunkirk, then the aerial assault began, the aerial attack. So that was the main part of the book. And the book only mentioned that Dunkirk actually succeeded beyond expectation. So even Churchill didn't expect that they were able to evacuate that many people successfully.
Okay. I think it's also an interesting book for me because I'd like to compare between the movies and the book. So I think it's gonna be on my TBR, a long list of TBR. Thank you,
Wow.
Donald.
Long list.
Long list of TBR. Okay, thank you, Donald. Any more comments?
I just want to comment. Thank you for telling me Churchill brought his own machine gun, because I always have an impression Churchill is like Al Capone, right? The hat, the same, the long jacket,
Long coat, something like a long coat.
yeah, long coat, and then with the cigar. It also looked like a mafia boss. Now it confirms my imagination that he even brings his own machine gun everywhere. I suspect maybe there are several dead bodies in his car trunk. That will make the imagination complete.
Okay. I think
Guntar has a
that
question.
uh-huh.
Sorry, Guntar, open his mic.
Yes, Donna. Actually, the issue of resiliency still interests me. I've learned from Pipit that Churchill was born from nobility. It means that he had many privileges. But what interests me the most is that I consider the rich people, someone from nobility, is prone to be not resilient. If we define resilience as the ability to withstand adversity and bounce back from difficult situation, then I'm wondering what kind of difficult situation that Churchill has experienced. I mean, resilience needs practice. Then what kind of situation that makes someone like Churchill to be more resilient, to be a tough guy? Does the book mention any of that?
Okay, thank you for the questions. Unfortunately, the book is not a biography of Churchill. It focused only on 1 year of the first year of his prime ministerial, so 1940 to 1941. So there is no mention about his background, just briefly. So before becoming a prime minister, he was the called Lord of Admiralty, meaning he was the chief of staff of the Navy. Not actually chief of staff because he wasn't a soldier himself, but someone above, like defense minister maybe, but for the Navy. So civilian, but for the Navy. But there was no mention because the book is not a biography of Churchill, unfortunately. So it focuses on how he responded to the Germany assault.
Is there any apa ya? What I interesting about the book is whether we can learn something about, for example, you mentioned about Churchill has any particular habits that open to innovation, open to risk. Is there any other characteristic that interests you the most? This out there?
Yes, that is his knowledge and interest in history. So he was a big learner of history. So when in conversations, in dinners, and when he has guests, he often talk about history with the guests. And when he make decision, he always think about how will history view this decision in the light of history. So I think that is important because often leaders, they just look at what is in front of them or what the people around them tell these people, these leaders, but they never or do not learn from history enough. So that is a big takeaway from me. We must learn from history so that we have the right perspective to make decisions.
Okay. So the book is not mentioning any about his past events, past experience. That where did he learn about history? How he learned about resiliency?
No, the book is very focused on its mission, the first year of his prime minister. Because Churchill is a very interesting personality, and I think there is a multi-volume biography of Churchill. But I think the author make the deliberate decision to focus not just on Churchill, but also on the British people, how they endure this assault. So just one example that I didn't have time to mention because it's not about Churchill, but about the British people. They had rationing, so there were no eggs in the stores. So the British people solved this problem by raising their own hens. So they have chickens in their houses to have eggs. So just one example. So the book is not just about Churchill, but about the British people. But the focus is on the first year of the assault. And diplomacy, actually. One other thing that is also very important that I haven't mentioned is diplomacy. So throughout the book, Churchill was able to get America, US, into the war. That was from the beginning. So in the beginning, when he became prime minister, he told, I think his son, we are going to win this war, but how? There is no hope. Well, I will drag the US into this war. That is from the beginning. and there were a lot of diplomacy with Roosevelt. Roosevelt was the president at the time of the U.S. president.
Okay.
I think any more comments? Otherwise, we'll move to other books.
I just want to say that part of
think-
history is very interesting. Yeah, that part of history is very interesting.
And maybe because it happens in the very beginning of his, can we say, career? The very beginning. So then we do know how effective was it? How in 1 year, in one era, then he did many things that I think shape everything what we have at the moment. Yeah, due to his decision and what happened during that year.
I think I can add a bit for Gunther regarding the Churchill background. I remember his first military career is as a cavalry officer in Sudan or some part of Africa during early 1900s because he's part of aristocrat and it's a culture at the time for aristocrats to join military career. And his civilian career, I think in newspaper or publishing or something. Then during World War One, he also have as an admiralty, part of the admiralty in the navy. Then he also take uh, part in Gallipoli campaign in the Dardanelles Strait in Turkey at the time, and he also got blamed for its failure because it's the key player on its campaign. And I think that one also part why during his early prime ministry become quite controversial among the statesmen in the British because of his renowned failure, right? And then like how can we appoint a prime minister that used to have a failure in previous Great War? Like that.
So you're saying that Churchill has taken up many failures in his early life.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, the most renowned is I think the Dardanelles campaign because it's like hundreds of thousands of British and New Zealand Australian died without any advancing forward in the whole World War One campaign. So yeah, many people got that and it's into waste because there is no advantage for that campaign. So it's blamed even after the war end during the 1920s. Many of top statesmen and military brass blame Churchill for that one, for the failure, great failure.
Okay. Thank you for the inquiry.
Okay, thank you everyone, and thank you Donald. Wait, let me put, yeah, okay. So the next book, I think Quiet, but don't present it in a quiet quiet voice. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You still
Yeah.
need to speak something. You still need to speak.
When I read that I will be quiet doesn't mean I will be quiet, but the literal book title is quiet. Okay. So
Go ahead, please.
the book titled Quiet by Susan Cain. The subtitle is The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. So why I choose this book? Because it got introvert on its title. That is so relatable to me. I think it's so relatable. So I try this book and see what this author talked about this book. Then the lesson learned is this book is separated into a few parts. So the first part is talk about and I also haven't finished this book actually. Only went to the third of its part, but most of it already I read this one. And the first part is she talks about the extrovert ideals in this world. So she talked about our world, our modern world now is favor more on the extrovert ideal. We think that great leader is the one who is bold, take a quick action, and assertive. Right? We like a leader that is more bold, that talkative, that loud than the leader that is quiet and think slow and consider many things. Uh, that's why now it is considered more that introvert is less desirable in many aspects, especially like when in the early 19 in the early 20th century, we came into a highly industrial society where everything become a commodity, and how successful you are determined by how you can sell yourself like that, and how you can take advantage of other people, how you can persuade others that, and all of this is highly requiring this extrovert personality. And the society start to shift from previously when we value more about character into a society that value more about personality. So character means that how is the inner quality of the person, like their moral standard, their ethics, and their intellectual and so on, compared to personality, which is how other perceive someone, how he how it seems in other people. Uh, then the second part is talk about the biological background. So this talk about the old long discussion about nature versus nurture. So it also cited several research by behavioral scientists where it researched about the relation between inborn or nature between the personality type that arise in later life of people. So what there is a significant finding about temperament, the correlation between temperament and personality. So personality considered to be something that arises by nurture, something that is a mix between cultural and experience that people acquire during his life. And the temperament is mostly come inbred. So there is a research that took that researching the life of several people from the birth, from the early years. They detect that how is the temperament? Is there a highly sensitive or less sensitive person? Highly sensitive means that they react more with they react more with anything from the surrounding environment, like from the sound. If he saw videos, if he hear something sound, he saw strange people, he react more, become more reactive. Then the study found that the people that is more reactive in his early years tend to become more introvert, because those people, they the reactive people is more sensitive to any feedback from their surrounding. So that's why a stranger make them more anxious, make them more self self-conscious about the surrounding. That's why it make them more tend to be an introvert. Then the extrovert, they are less sensitive. The temperament is less reactive and less sensitive to the surrounding environment. That they tend to be an extrovert at later age. So that's why um, there is it's not important about what percentage of the nature that is important and what percentage of nurture that is important. What is important is how this inborn condition, the nature could correlate with the nature, could combine, then resulting into a several person. So it's not important about which is having more advantages in the extrovert or extrovert versus introvert. So this is not about introvert versus extrovert idea. This is about how to embrace the introvertness in the extrovert society. Then there is also some study found that the when in a group, the extrovert tend to speak their idea, tend to speak their idea, talk about their own idea and how it would be realized. So if we consider that between an introvert and extrovert, there is a same amount of good idea and bad idea. If we let the extrovert, the talkative person, to talk through the day to get all this idea into practice, then we went into the situation where we let a good idea to curb and get some bad idea to realize. Uh, there is some lesson learned that I get from this book apart. Maybe there is some when I finish this book, but this is a little proud that I can get. Then the third question, one, two, or two. I think that I wanted to change. That is nothing that I would like to change about myself, even though this is touch about someone. It just gives me some reassurance quickly and give some insight on how to embrace my own personality.
That's it, Edo, because
Yeah,
suddenly you're quiet.
yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Okay. Guys, any comments, any questions for Edo? Please ask and voice the question. Don't stay quiet.
Question. Okay, Edo. Is it true that for people who are quiet, is it part of their personality or people are quiet only in certain setting? Is it so back to nature or nurture type of situation? Is there anyone who is consistently quiet or quiet because of the situation?
So some explanation about why people become quiet is because they are they're inborn condition where they are more reactive. So he perceives some feedback from the surrounding more. So he is more to think inside than to talk to outside. So he thinks more. He thinks like let's say he overthink everything. So that's why they become more quiet in certain situation, especially when he they are in strange environment that they think they need to consider everything to calculate all the risks to think before take any action. Then that in that circumstance they tend to be more quiet.
Mm.
Is
Please allow me
it?
to
Oh, sorry.
paraphrase
One more.
what Edo has explained.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
about extrovert and introvert. I consider extrovert as someone who tend to think while they speak. It means that they can speak at the same time while they're thinking. Or furthermore, I argue that extrovert person needs to speak so that they can think. Meanwhile, introvert tend to think thoroughly before they speak. They choose not to speak before they finish thinking. So uh, I consider extrovert people as an interesting and straightforward people that we can learn immediately about their train of thought while they speak, because they need to speak so that they can think.
Yeah.
This is my opinion. But I think that what's differentiate between introvert and extrovert. And then I think that it is important for us to understand the nature of any of us, because uh, we, we we can get we need different situation to get energy. I consider myself as an introvert. Then meanwhile, I experience many experiences that I need to speak in public, and I consider myself good at it. But if I if I speak in front of public in a very long time, it tires me up, and sometimes for myself. Meanwhile, I have friends, many friends that I know for real that they are extrovert. They can be alone. They need someone just to share their thought, because, as I said earlier, they need to speak so that they can think. It really bothers me actually,
Yeah.
because my friends who are extroverts think they can say many things that is not in the final form, because it is in the drafting. They say, "Oh no, that's not what I mean." It's very annoying actually for introvert people, but this is how we are. Okay, that's just my 2 cents. Okay, Donald, how about you? Are you an introvert?
Well, actually, I think last month I shared a book titled Personality Isn't Permanent.
Mm.
And one takeaway from that book is that we should not box ourselves as certain type of personality, because the book said that there is no such thing as personality.
But we should differentiate between temperament and personality, Don. Temperament is like the canvas, while the personality is like the painting, what we paint on the canvas. I argue that the temperament is tend to be permanent. We cannot change ourselves, but we can change what we paint on the canvas. That is the personality. But it is very tiring for us to be different than what we are made of. If we are an introvert and we try so hard to be an extrovert, yes, we can do that, but it is tiring actually. It is not what we meant to be. But about the, Edo has said about the, what is called the word extrovert. I mean, our work is like idolizing the extrovert. The many main characters, at least what I know, is like Naruto, this Aang of Avatar, this Luffy at One Piece, there's all the manga on comic. They are all extrovert person. We tend to idolize extrovert because we can get energy, a lot of energy from them. Just seeing them speaking, hearing their speaking and an energizing tone is really affect us a lot. Meanwhile, introvert people, maybe like us who like to read books, it is not our habit to speak in a very high tone, full of energy. But this is us. I don't know. It is just me who think that we are in this group are all introvert. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not alone, Pak.
Actually, Mr. Guntar, I a bit disagree about that. I know a lot of public speakers who are really good at speaking, but most of them are actually introvert. Almost everyone. So it's not like a special case. I have mentioned this before. They call it situational extrovert. A lot of people who are good in public speaking, they like to be alone. Actually, they like to be alone. But when the situations demand them to speak, then they can do it. And a lot of introvert people have many friends too. So people who are quiet can also be extrovert in terms of they have a lot of friends, they even hang out. So, well, a lot of people who speak a lot, sometimes they just stay at home most of the time. They don't hang out. So I tend towards Donald's book last, I don't know, 1 or 2 meeting, that this is not permanent. There's no division, oh, you're a introvert or you're an extrovert, you're a quiet person, you're something like that. I think it's really, everyone is a mix of everything.
Okay.
If I may add a little bit, what interesting about this book is, my voice is heard?
Yeah, you can
Okay,
hear
good.
it.
So one of the concept is fair trade, if I'm not mistaken, by Professor Little. One of the character the professor mentioned in this book. The concept is fair trade, meaning that introverts can speak up their mind, and for them it's going to be very tiring. But if it's something to do with values or a cause or a mission that makes them happy, or they will go all out. They will be very must look like an extrovert, very talkative and very loud. But it all comes down from something that they very believe in that. So concept of fair trade means that if you have something you very believe for introverts, and you speak your mind, and then you got tired, afterwards you feel happy because you have done what you want to do, and then afterwards you have to have that break sessions where when the stage is off and then you go alone, for example, walking around a little a river or something, for recovering your energy because of the draining situation. So that's one of the thing that I taken from this book, Quiet. So for introverts who talk out loud, if you're drained out, it's okay. It's just part of what what we are experiencing, and you're not actually alone. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
And this
Maybe
book
you
also, yeah.
wanted to say something before?
Can I?
And yeah,
Can I hear?
sure.
Yeah. So this book also mentioned about the Rubberband personality theory. So it stated that actually our personality is can be stretched, but not infinite. Only so much, not infinite, but can be stretched. That is Rubberband personality. And also, all human is not polarized into two sides, introvert and extrovert. There is a rough estimate that 20% of people is extrovert, 40 people of person is introvert, and the rest is just a mix between the two.
Donna,
Yeah.
we been talking about a in when we mentioned about in phenomena in Japan, someone who's locked himself in his or her own room. What do you think? Is it the shut-in? Is this a disease specific only to an introvert? Or nobody? Do you have any other opinion about this?
Well, based on the book that I shared last month, Personality is Impermanent, that is caused by something called trauma.
Oh,
Because of a bad experience in the past, they became like that. So not innate, not something. Actually, I would like to share an example from our discussion today that seems like counter example between dividing people into introvert and extrovert. And the example is Theodore Roosevelt, the youngest US president. So on the face, he looked like an extrovert. He had a lot of friends, very popular, a lot of humor, and he became example in the book how to win friends and influence people because he was very popular and make a lot of friends. But on the other hand, his hobby was reading books, and when he read books, he couldn't be bothered. So when someone called him while reading book, he couldn't hear it. And he read book all the time, and he wrote, not just read, but wrote 40 books. So during this time, he looked like introvert because you just couldn't bother him, no matter what happened. So that's why my position right now is I do not believe in boxing ourselves in introvert or extrovert. We just do what it takes with our mission. And but this is just me, because I haven't read final conclusion because I haven't read enough books. But my current conclusion is that we just do what it takes to do our mission, and who cares? I will introvert or extrovert. I do not want to box myself. Just do what it takes. Yeah, just my opinion.
Repeat, what did you want to say before making comments?
I actually forgot. Maybe there's a theory, coconut and peach type of situation. So coconut is your introvert, means you have a strong divider between
Outer.
yourself and the outside, the divider. And peach is very soft, almost no divider at all. So no one is 100% coconut and 100% peach. Otherwise, they will be crazy. So no one is extremely extrovert or extremely introvert. Otherwise, they would be crazy. So I think if we're safe, somehow a mix of both, we're fine. And about the shut-ins in Japan, I think the society expectations also the one that make them like that. Now in Korea, it started to happen. A lot of youngster generation prefer to just read manga 24 hours a day, and their parents love their being at home. There's no expectation for them because a lot of other families, their son or their daughters just leave the house and never return, never see the parents again. So the family ties degraded. So when their parents see their son or their daughter actually stay at home, they love it. So they cuddle them, wash their clothes, give them food and everything. They don't have any expectation. Why don't you go out and make money or something? So it's the combination of the pressure of society too high, and then parents who are willingly accept their children's situation and continue.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I'd like to ask Edo something. Okay, Edo, maybe have you ever taken a test to find out yourself whether you're an extrovert or introvert, or has the quiet book provoke you or inspire you to take those kind of tests?
I'm also not so trusting about the test that categorize people because also not the person that like to be boxed into a category. But to me, extrovert and introvert is just a term like an explanation. So it's not like the box where you put yourself in. Rather, there is just explanation to explain how is your situation. So many phenomena that happen in yourself that you know already. Then it's got a term to describe it. To me, it's more like that.
And have you ever watched the TED Talks of Susan regarding this book?
I
think-
haven't aware about the TED Talk. Maybe later after finishing this one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I thought if you have watched it, I want to know whether what she mentioned on TED Talks really sum up the book, because one of our previous book with book Brewers, oh my god, I forgot the title. Wait. Grit, Angela
Oh,
Duckworth.
great. Yeah. Angela Duckworth.
She had her TED Talks as well, but then the TED Talks was very complex. It feels like just by watching it, it feels like you're reading the book as well, because the book is a bit too long for me. And then I want to know whether that book versus the TED Talks of this book also, has that similar situation or not. So yeah. Okay, never mind if you haven't. Yeah, sure.
My opinion about this book is it's unlike the Angela Duckworth because Angela Duckworth is the like some kind of expert in behavioral sciences. So he wrote her book like he's writing some like scientific book kind of that. But this Susan Cain is actually not a scientist, not a behavioral scientist. It's more like an advocate. So it's not the expert on this field, rather he's just collecting some research from others. So it's more, I think the writing style is more casual. It's more for lay person than the Angela Duckworth did.
I see. Okay. Thank you, Edo. Wait, I'll give. Yep, my slide. So thank you, Edo, for presenting the quiet book. Pipit, would you like to go next?
I'll go last, please.
I'm going last because I'm
Or maybe Gunter wants to share. Or an
No.
article he has read before. Article, a TED Talk.
Well, I've read about a book about marketing by Philip Kotler, but I'm actually not ready to present it right now. So maybe in the next week.
About Rizka and Ami.
Can I just listen? Yeah, because I don't have any specific book. I'm still reading Emotional Agility for Bookaholics. But yeah, I don't really have a specific book. Amy said she's going.
What have you learned so far about emotional agility?
What's important about being emotionally agile is for us to first to stop labeling emotion as good and bad emotion. Angry, stress, and terrified, that's not bad emotions. It's just emotion. Because, well, I mean, me and some most of us, I think, labeling like, oh, if I'm in stress, I'm in bad emotions, or if I'm terrified, that means I'm not in my bad. I'm not in my good character, and that's one thing. And the second is by not labeling it, we can then pinpoint why are we feeling that way. For example, if we're in a tight schedule of deadline, and then we got stressed out of it, instead of, oh, I'm stressed out, and just full stop. No, we ask ourselves, why am I stressed out? Why am I very consumed about this? Am I feeling incompetent because I couldn't get it done? Is it I feel disregard by my boss because I couldn't get it done, or something like that? And so we get to ask why this emotion happened, because if we feel something, that means we value something out of it. We have something within it. And the third one is about stepping outside of the emotion itself, because we are not our emotion. Emotion is just one thing about us. It's just a signal. And by stepping out of it, we can choose whether to go with our emotion or not, or do something else. So far, that's what I learned and what I try to do. So when we have a bookaholics, that we can actually practice it instead of just talking, because this is very important. And then one of things that I learned about from WHO, that depression is considered as one of the highest. I don't know, something that it's very common. I mean, depression in the world is very common. It's a phenomenon, and endemic, and so endemic, and so we really should be looking at it in a different way, instead of just, oh, this is just a swing emotion. Our friend she's in a period, that means she's no, this is serious, and we have to look at it in a different way and do something about it, I guess. So yeah, that's one from so far I learned from emotional agility. Yes. Thank you.
Can we take a poll about depression? Now, in my opinion, Rizka, it's not people's fault if they undermine depression, because now in the era of social media, celebrities, all of these people, they tend to easily self-diagnose themselves as depressed. Yeah, maybe 1 out of 3 students of mine say, I'm so depressed. Well, in my opinion, probably they don't know what depressed mean. Could be just sad or heartbroken, and then they said it's depressing. I talked about vitamin D, for example. So the causes of the side effects of not having enough vitamin D is depressed, and everyone say, I actually probably lack vitamin D because I'm so depressed. So yeah, right.
Yeah.
So do you think,
And I need healing.
yeah, I need healing, things like that. So like Billie Eilish, who like to capitalize on mental illness and a lot of depression is the new cool. So what do you guys think? Do you think depression is really endemic or it's just a trend?
It's definitely not a trend, and to find out whether you're depressed or not, you need to go to psychologist. That's one thing I know for sure. Never ever self-diagnose. I think the only thing that you can self-diagnose is only fever and cough. Fever meaning that if you feel suddenly, oh aduh nggak enak badan, then you do know that you have fever. And also cough if your cough suddenly, or you don't have any allergic but then suddenly cough, then you can self-diagnose your cough. But I don't think there's any other things that you can self-diagnose other than those two that I've mentioned. So it's a big no-no to say I'm depressed. You can say that you're stressed though, like you can say that, oh, I think this is a bit too tough for me. I think that's a lot better to say that comparing to say that you're depressed. Oh yeah, really? You're depressed. Really? You're depressed? Oh, okay. So I don't think that you have the right to say you're depressed unless you're really diagnosed with depression. But yeah, I do agree that nowadays people are so easy to say that I'm depressed and then now I need healing. That I have to book somewhere because I need healing, I need staycation, I need whatever. I need to go out. So yeah. It's part of the trend though.
Yeah, I kind of agree with how easily people say, "Oh, I'm depressed," or yeah. But at the same time, I think one to be considered is when that stress is occurring in a long period of time, and when it makes you unable to do your daily job, or you cannot sleep at night in a very long period of time, and basically you can't function, that I can be said that's you need to see someone, or you just have to talk to someone about it. But yeah, it is I got mixed up because sometimes when I say I'm depressed, they're not, but someone they talk to, someone who hear them saying depressed is the one who be depressed. So yeah, it's something to be
It's the same
considered as
as
well.
now it's the same as bipolar. A lot of people claim they are bipolar now. A lot of celebrities, because they have mood swings. It's almost impossible to differentiate now. Like you have mood swings, or you have bipolar, or you just have a bad day. Right? So yeah, I think stop self-diagnosing ourselves. But another thing, oh yeah, even now there's a comedy about depressed. if you guys have watched it before, you guys, have you feel like you're depressed, but not depressed, but depressed, right? So it's like the depressed is not depressed, but depressed. So yeah, so that type of situation. A lot of people on social media claim themselves depressed.
Mm. I think
But
it is.
yeah,
I think it's important for us to really differentiate about what we really feel. I mean, depressing is too general term, and I think it is an effect of any other emotion. Because why are you feeling depressed? In the case of someone have been depressed since he look of his or her friend at social media, I think it's, if we break down the emotion, we can find emotion like envy, powerless, self-loathing, and perhaps hate. So if we continue to question the person, we might come up to that answer. I mean, why are you depressed? I'm depressed because I'm feeling powerless. Why are you powerless? Because I see my friend has this and that. Well, I do not have any of that, and I'm feeling envy to my friends. And so what I mean is, as long as we can pinpoint the exact emotion that make us really depressed, we can then move on from that emotion. So I mean, just saying I'm depressed is not enough. We need to be more detailed about it. Okay. And Tiska, I'm
yes,
interested.
yes.
Uh, you're saying that we should not blame ourselves for feeling this and that. Is it only on certain emotion? I mean, what about the feeling of hate, of something that we usually consider as a negative emotion?
It's still well, so far in the book, basically mentioned, because Susan David is a psychologist, and so her book is basically based on her helping her clients. And I haven't actually read something about hate, but from what I learned so far, basically, even hate, maybe there's something outside of that emotion. For example, hate can be like envy. Hate can be feeling like remorse, or hate can be like, you are bothering my territory, and then something like that. So it's basically just signals. It's how we react to it. And I agree with you, Pak Guntar, basically. So emotion is it's like it's just, I don't know how to say it, but language is a word that we use and exchange ourselves so we can understand each other. The same way as emotion, when we can pinpoint, oh, what I'm feeling right now is this, what I'm feeling right now is that. That is a lesson that I think our younger generation or current situation should be learned. Because for me, I only have one son, but I haven't actually teach him how to identify his own emotion. And so what our current situation, what he also keeps showing is that this hate or angry and everything, he needs to, and I should teach him, there are various ways of emotions to be identified, and by not labeling it, we basically embrace that side of us. I think that's my 2 cents. And regarding depression, for this things, that's why I can show. I think I've mentioned this before in previous book Brewers or in a group. I can say about depression because I'm self-diagnosed as being depressed, because during my teenage, I've been when I'm in that state of mind, I cannot think. So I cannot identify myself, and I've like hurting myself in a way that is not healthy. And later, when I keep reading about what is happening to me, that when I say that I'm depressed, but since I can talk to you right now, meaning I am still functioning. So out there are people who are experiencing and they cannot function. Then we really need to reach out to them. And I remember this, well, not remember, newest film by Lady Gaga and A Star is Born, about his husband, he's alcoholic, and then later on he actually commits suicide, and nobody actually expecting him to do that. He only mentioned it to one person. I cannot say how many of people out there who are doing, basically showing a recurrent something that basically hurting themselves, and people's like, oh, he's okay, he get through it. When we give him like logical way of thinking and something like that, he will recover and he will help himself. But in the end, he couldn't, and he didn't. So it's also for in my point of view, to at the same time, it's at the same time we don't exaggerate it, just like social media did. At the same time, we really should see this as I don't know, a symptom. I don't know, to be more sensitive about it. If one of our friends who have this recurring, I don't know, self-blame or something, maybe we can like ask, how are you? Are you okay? You want to talk about it or something like that? Because if we don't ask, they wouldn't tell. So yeah, that's my
To
two cents.
talk about that movie and also other people who committed suicide, a lot of them are artists.
Yeah,
Like
that's
Chester Bennington, Linkin
Yeah.
Park, and
Yeah.
Soundgarden,
yeah,
Kurt Cobain,
Kurt
all of
Cobain.
this.
yeah,
Yeah. So I think if it's an artist, even Vincent Van Gogh
yeah,
also committed suicide. So if it's an artist, I think they live in a different realm. They're very sensitive. So I don't know. For me, we cannot compare ourselves to artists if we're not them. Like their level of sensitivity is, in my opinion, is different from most people. That's why they can come up with beautiful things, beautiful paintings, maybe beautiful songs, things like that. So that's part of maybe like the side effects of being too perceptive.
yeah. Well, I paint, and it is like an expression of when you are having this very difficult way of language to make it as a word, but yeah, it's so true. I mean, that's why usually artists have patrons who's kind of help them through those creative moment. But there are also artists who actually survive. I mean, they create a lot of very well-known art, but they survive. They're also that art. Some of our painters live through 80s, still live until now. So there's just one of the mass media type mentioned that, oh yeah, artists will die young or something, but no, some of artists can really survive and cope with it, with that side of artistic thing. Yeah.
Yes. I have something to add that I said it is important for us to really understand what we really feel.
Mhm.
It also means that we should choose wisely about how we name our emotions.
Yeah, yeah, that's also true.
So, for example, if someone is making fun of me, I can choose some vocabulary to choose. For example, oh man, I'm pissed, or I'm angry, or I'm enraged. In Bahasa Indonesia, we tend not to differentiate those emotions. We just saya ngerasa tidak nyaman atau saya marah. Gitu. But if we really can differentiate between those gradients of emotion, we can then set the level of intensity of emotion. I mean, if we in actually Sarelita, we feel just annoyed, and then we choose not to use annoyed, but instead we use angry, then we will set ourselves to that level of emotion. Well, I mean, it was just I'm being making fun of. I'm actually just need to feel annoyed, not to be angry, but I choose to use angry or maybe enraged, and that will dictate my level of emotion to that word, particular word. So we can use this to make ourselves better, while we actually, in reality, we feel angry, but we choose not to use that word. We just, I'm just feeling peeve or pissed or just annoyed. We can also use this to help others. If we have kids and he used the word, Dad, I'm enraged. No, you are not enraged. You just feel angry. Or perhaps you just feel annoyed. We try to dictate our son into that level of emotion based on the word we choose for him or her. So what I mean is understanding what really feel is also and has the implication of how we choose the word to name our emotion. Okay.
Yeah, emotional vocabulary, ya, Pak Guntur.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. Thank you. Thank you. Back
Shall
to
we
you.
move on?
Back to you, Mbak Dias.
Sure. Pipit, can you share your presentation?
Okay, actually, it was a really good discussion just now with Rizka, because as Rizka talking just now, I'm trying to calm down my student. On Monday, we will have a ujian, exam, and students freak out and they regularly see therapists and suddenly want to buy a headset that is almost $1,000 by Mont Blanc, thinking, oh, the reason why I cannot study because I hear noises. So I want to buy the most expensive headset out there to help me study. And now suddenly asking me to book a hotel for her. Okay. Oh, the reason I cannot study is because my roommate is too noisy. But she was alone. She's alone in her apartment. So this is another example that, all right. Sorry about that. And maybe some of you know that I went to United States last February. It was also because of someone had a mental breakdown. So I had to pick up my students who threatened to commit suicide. And no one could take him back to Indonesia because they're afraid. He stole a knife from dorm kitchen and hide it in the room and things like that. So then the school said, oh, we cannot do this anymore. He needs to go home. Yeah, I know mental problem is really serious, but because the noise, a lot of people said, oh, I'm bipolar or I'm depressed or I'm this and that, it makes it too common to be true almost, I guess. And that's how I personally conclude. Okay, so the book that I will talk about, again, I have a second job that I mentioned earlier. So the next few months, my books will be all about environment because I need to get familiar with the topic. So it's 1001 Ways to Save the Earth. Okay, so it's pretty thick. And yeah, so far, it's okay. Yeah. And the first question is why I read this book. Yeah. What's the reason you chose this book? Well, because of the job. So I have to get myself familiar. And this platform is teaching people how to contribute with what they can to deal with environmental issues. Okay. And what I can learn from this book is that we don't have to be the paragon of appear to make a change. So usually the stigma is, oh, the person must be really good or really set a good example, then you can do something for the environment. You have to be Leonardo DiCaprio to do it. Actually, it's not. You don't have to be that kind of person to start making a change. Anyone can do it. And the question is whether we want to do it or not. And all this time, the environmental issues has been on the fringe of discussion, right? For several decades, people who talk about environment usually seen as gypsy or what is it called? Hippie, gypsies, tree huggers, and alternative people. Yeah. But now environmental issues have become mainstream topics. Yeah. Sometimes they can even differentiate whether you're from what party, if you care about environment, and what party you don't care about environment, or not don't care, like do not prioritize environment. And now even people consider environmental issues as the deal breaker or deal maker, whether they want to vote for a certain candidate or not, at least in weirdo countries, you know, white, wealthy, industrialized country. Okay, and then the nature seems to be so resilient. The globe is so big, and the scientists are so smart. That's why we think that, okay, the environment will take it, whatever we do to them. But it's hard to imagine now that we actually can make a dent in the ecological environment. So we used to think that, oh, it's okay, the planet can take it, whatever we do with it, to them. But now it's no longer the case. Because, for example, with the current rate, by 2050, there will be more plastic in the sea than the fish. So now when we, interview people, what lives in the sea, the fish, if we ask 2050 generation, probably the answer will be plastic, because that's more common in the sea than fish themselves. And also we're the species who jeopardize other species and also ourselves. And extinction becomes faster, although extinction is a natural process of life, but it becomes faster. A lot of fish in the sea actually changing sex because of a chemical compound we dump in the sea. We stuff the polar bear, and then all of these things. You know the drill. And all of this accumulate to the term slow death. So we are actually creating our own slow death. Yeah. And now the scientists are arguing which point they said is the point of irreversible. So a lot of people said we have passed this point, but other scientists, we're still arguing. The point of irreversible means after we reach this point, no matter what we do after that, it's not going to make any difference. Okay. So some scientists think we have reached it. Some others think, no, we still have time, right? The planet itself will survive, but the inhabitants, that will not. And then the good thing about this book is that we can avoid the feeling that there's nothing we can do. So probably that's the hope that we get from reading this kind of book, because this shows there are so many things we do in daily that is accumulated. If we do it every day, accumulated within a lifetime, times how many people who are inspired to also do it, then the impact will be big. Yeah. So I think that's the lesson from this book. And another thing that I don't like about the book is very Americanized, American-centered. I don't know how it got here in Indonesia. I got it here. But a lot of the examples that they can do is actually are not available here. So they talk about a lot of things that are not available here. Yeah, basically. So this is 1001, but I have to what is it called?
Filter again.
Yeah, filter it. Okay, which one is applicable here? And a lot of them are not applicable here, actually. So maybe one thing that I can share here is
at least half of the 1,000 something they mentioned can be applied here, or not even
Maybe
50%?
30%. Okay, like maybe the one thing they see, if you want to use curtain, choose thick curtain because it will block the sun. So if you don't like the heat, then the thick curtain will make you less hot inside the house. So you don't need as cool AC as you can set. Yeah, so that is thick curtain, and then shut the window if it's things like that, and then shut a light. Obviously, yeah. Eat slowly. When you eat slowly, you eat less automatically. So as food actually has quite big carbon footprint. And then if you want to buy toys for children, use the toys that are made out of wood instead of plastic. So that's easy, yeah. So keep it sealed. So if you have food on the table, you have to seal them because it will keep it from getting spoiled basically longer, yeah. So things like that, seal it, and then ride a bike. Edo is doing that. Drive slowly, yeah. If you drive slowly, if you drive 50 miles per hour, you save 25% more fuel than when you drive 70 miles per hour. Yeah. And I think in Indonesia that means eco-friendly because we have to drive slowly here because of the traffic. So yes. And come eat at the restaurant. Do not bring it home. Eat at the restaurant. Do not bring it home. It will minimize the packaging and the things that you have to carry it for, and then quit smoking. Can you guys imagine the biggest plastic that is not properly managed in the world is actually cigarette stubs. I didn't know there was plastic in it. So a lot of cigarette stubs, people just throw it, yeah, because they think it's so small, it's not gonna hurt the environment. But that's the biggest, even bigger number than plastic bottles, yeah, when it's unmanaged. And then we also have cut your carbs. Yeah, carbs produce a lot of shave once a week instead of every day. Shave once a week instead of every day. Things like that. Yeah, wake up and smell the coffee rather than use. Although coffee spends a lot of water. Yeah, to grow a coffee, 1 kilogram of coffee takes 5,000 liters of water, obviously. But if you already consume coffee rather than buying air freshener, use coffee as your natural air freshener. Things like that. So this is just the small stuff that I can share. What I don't like about the book, again, too American-centered, but also sometimes it's too small that I think it's not good enough for a wholesale change. So for me, it's almost like a what is it called? Like make us feel better, but I don't think the change will be enough. Yeah.
It's like throwing salt into the ocean.
Throwing salt into the ocean, yes, probably that is what I feel. That's why we still need a systemic and structural change. Yeah. That's it.
I think that one just make you feel better rather than saving. Yeah, more like giving you feel that, oh, I already save environment rather than actually give enough impact on environment.
Yes. So I think the book is trying to be politically correct because obviously here the government plays a big role in this. Yeah, but the book intentionally avoid the topic. Yeah, that's what I hope change. But this is almost like for children. So probably they don't want children to be politically conscious just yet. Maybe that's my guess. That's it, yes.
Thank you, Pipit. Anyone would like to ask questions or make comments?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure, no.
Yeah, actually not about the 1,000 ways, but about the environmental issues. Yeah, I think according to what I know, the most popular one is climate change. But what is actually the most threatening environmental issue? Is it climate change, as many people say, or is it air quality, maybe the quality of the air that we breathe that will affect us more immediately than climate change, or something else? Because I'm afraid that we focus on the wrong thing. Maybe there is something that is more immediate and more dangerous, but because of the campaign out there, we misfocus on something else. What do you think?
Oh, that's actually a tough question. Yeah. But the reason why people have a huge campaign on climate change, I used to work for UNFCCC as well, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, is because it's not obvious. It's not obvious. Well, other environmental issues is obvious, right? We can see trash that are mismanaged. We can see air quality. We can smell it and see when it's full of, smoke and things like that. Climate change is very less obvious, right? And then if they don't scream, probably people will not notice. Yeah, almost like the water is warm until we realize it's deep type of situation, right? So I think because it's less obvious, then people try to offset that with the high volume of campaign. So I think that's what I think. But personally, what I think pressing issue is actually waste problem. Yeah, waste problem. Not only it has obvious impacts, yeah, mismanaged waste can even go back to our bloodstream right now, right? If the fish eat it, animals eat it, and then we eat animal, we go back to it. Yeah, even when the nutrients are dropped by the plants or the fruits will bear the chemicals or whatever, right? The DDT, it will come back to us. And the other reason is also because it's a loss of opportunity. It's a loss of opportunity. If we manage waste properly, it can make a lot of people make money and have proper life. Like people who are pemulung can also have better income if we have a good system, So it's okay not to reduce our consumption, but whatever we consume must go back to the producers. And they call it cyclical economy. Cyclical economy. So I think that is the biggest problem, not only because of the impact, but also because of the loss of opportunity. That could have been circular economy. Yes, circular economy. Emmy, thank you. Or cyclical economy, same. So I think that is what I personally think the biggest issue.
Okay, I have another question, a follow-up question. What do you think about food quality? So, for example, because of water pollution, there are many leads eaten by the fish, for example, or maybe pesticides, that kind of thing that affect our food quality and can cause, maybe not obvious, but it can cause cancer maybe because there are many carcinogens in our food. For instance, what do you think?
Yeah. Not only that, even our soil already lack NPT. Yeah. So soon we cannot grow our food like used to anymore because of the soil quality decrease. Yeah, that is another less obvious thing because we cannot see it's under there, under the soil. So that one. And then of course, contamination, food contamination. But you know what? I think human can adapt to it within a long run. Yeah. So yes. But a lot of studies said it impact our brain. Yeah. So who knows? In large quantity, we found too much lead inside our body. Then the next generation will have maybe lower IQ than the current generation. Who knows? Yeah. Or but problem is now the health quality increased. So that's another conflicting data here. Now we know people getting taller. Yeah, people getting taller and also smarter than 50 years ago. So we don't know when it will suddenly reach the peak and then decline from that point. Yeah, and then another thing will be, I was about to say something, but if I remember, I will say there was something about the next generation, but I remember I'll say it.
Suddenly you'll remember it again. Suddenly it will
Yeah,
pop up.
yeah. Maybe because of the lead that I eat or something. Okay, actually, guys, do you remember we talk about lifespan, right? I actually purchased NMN, and I know it's expensive, but I think it's an investment. So they said can really heal our cellular health or something. And but so far, I don't see any difference. I'm just telling
Not
you.
yet. Not yet.
Not yet. I almost finished the whole bottle though, but
No,
long
I
term.
think, yeah, long term vitamin, at least you need to take another 2 or 3 bottles, then you do know the difference between the previous, your previous state before you consume that vitamin. Anything else, guys? Any comments or any questions? Otherwise, I'd like to ask about by reading this book, what are the activities or any other perhaps you have any new decision that you'd like to take inspired by this book? What things, what are the things that you decide to take after reading, after having 1,000 ways, and the one thing that you really it feels like a very thought-provoking from all the 1,000.
Yeah, I think what I would like to pick up here is actually the idea of doing it. So if we maintain the mindset of I want to make a change, then automatically we will see opportunity everywhere. Yeah. So I don't want to memorize 1,001 things that I could have done.
No, cannot.
Yeah. But then if I retain the principle of okay, I know how to actually reduce my impact. So I will automatically make sure all of the lights are off before I go out. Without even this book telling me that I have to do it. So I think it's more important to retain the lesson than to actually memorize what I should do.
Thank you, Pipit. I'd like to share one of the main activities here in my surrounding area is we have what we call academy compost. So basically we separate all the food waste. So we have nine categories of different garbage, like plastic, and then metal, and then bottle, and then of course food waste, and then things like miscellaneous is like a tissue, something that can be recycled anymore. And then all the food waste will go automatically to the academic compost, and then every 1 kilogram of plastic, but not the bottle plastic, the plastic like if you consume the instant coffee sachet, like for example the Nescafe, this small of Nescafe, if you gain 1 kilos of it, then they'll create a tote bag, and then they can create desk organizer where you put your pens and pencils, something like that. And then also for the food waste garbage, they create the fertilizer, and then some they sell it, but then some they donate it to our gardener who take cares of the surrounding area as well, because we have several garden, like a small, not a park, just like taman, but very very small. But then it it's almost everywhere. Then the gardener take care of it. That's where we distribute the fertilizer. So when you mentioned that there are things that create not create making the environment less harm, then I feel good about it, because oh yeah, that's what we've been doing here. But then I do hope that it's not stopping here, but then it will be done like in every other area as well, so not only here. That's what I'm hoping though. Okay, that's my comments. Thank you, Pipit. So no more comments, yeah? Thank you. Wait, I give a pause first. Okay, thank you, Pipit. So okay. Wow, do I still have time, Donald? Just a quick anyhow, because I've mentioned the book last month as well. So
I think you can share your book and then we take 1 or 2 questions. Yes.
sure. Okay, so the book is a fiction actually. It's Colorless Sukuru Tazaki and His Years of Pilgrimage. I read 2 times, one in Bahasa Indonesia and then also one in English. Then I feel more connected. In some parts, I feel more connected in Bahasa Indonesia, but then towards the end, I feel like the English part is it's more touching for me. Maybe because the original language is not Indonesia and not English, so I think that's the reason. I forgot my question.
Why you choose the book?
Oh yeah, well, the reason I chose this book because it's been a while since I read the last Haruki Murakami. The first one was what you talk about when you talk about running, the first, and then Man Without Woman. The first one is a nonfiction, and then the second one is a short stories. But it's a fiction, so it's a 5 to 7 short stories compiled into one book. But the main theme is Man Without Woman. And then this is actually the third one. It's called this Colorless Sukuru, because I think I haven't read the whole story of his fiction, so I decided to read this one. And basically the story is about friendship, which started when they were in childhood. Consists of 5 friends. The Sukuru, but Sukuru, the main character here, is the only one who have names without any meaning of colors, while the other 4 friends, when they translate the name translated into black, white, red, and sapphire or Tosca, I forgot. So basically it's all colors except him. But then and then throughout their adulthood, when they're about to enter the university year, so meaning it's above 17 years old, suddenly 4 of them decided not to speak with him anymore. And state this state of feeling haunts him for years and years, until he got inspiration from his current girlfriend, that you need to talk and find out why you cannot live like this anymore, because basically he's been haunted with this kind of feeling of suddenly left behind and then not knowing where to go, what did I do wrong. Then when he found out, wait, this is a spoiler actually. Then he found out that one of his friends telling the other friends that, you know what, he did harassment to me. That's what the friend said. So the other four friends, the other three friends, how come he did that? So okay, that's it. We don't want to talk with him anymore because it's a betrayal to the friendship. So, but then throughout his journey to find out more about the friendship, um, the he found out what went wrong, um, and then the mistake was not on him, it was on his friend, and then that friend is already passed away anyhow. So uh throughout reading this, it's somehow emotionally, it drains the emotion while reading this. But the lesson learned from one of the biggest lesson learned from this book is never assume, just ask, especially in terms of friendship. Well, of course, it should be up to certain degrees of friendship, but this is a very long one because they've known each other since childhood. So he did make a mistake while just accepting when the friends, I don't want to talk with you anymore, then he just accepted. But then it also bothers him for years and years. That's the lesson learned. And then the thing I dislike about this book is the adult part was a bit sudden. It's like out of nowhere. How come this part is going to this chapter? And then it's like no introduction or no hint, no clue, and then suddenly the adult part coming. So that's why when I heard that Pipit's students read this book and then they said it's their favorite book, I'm wondering which part is their favorite. I hope it's the friendship part though. And then, but in the end, just like any other, I think most of Haruki Murakami's book is open ending. It's an open ending. This one as well is an open ending, but then we do know it's not sad but not that happy as well, but not bittersweet. So I feel pretty satisfied with this book. And then currently reading his other book that I'm still in the middle of it. It's Kafka on the Shore, and then 1Q84, but I haven't, but the book has not yet arrived here, so I'm still reading half through Kafka on the Shore. So I think that's it. My short explanation, and which is supposed to be happen last month, but just now happening. So yeah, that's it. Any comments or questions, guys?
Actually don't know why Murakami is a very famous Japanese author, right?
Mm.
Yes, but if we remove his image and reading the book without knowing this is Murakami's book, would you still like the book, or do you think it will still be that famous?
That's tough. I don't know if I can enjoy the book without knowing that it is Haruki Murakami actually. But because the reason why I decided to read is because it's because of RM, and because he mentioned that I think he mentioned Norwegian food, or because he read some, then I decided, oh yeah, I once read about what I talk about when I talk about running. Why don't I read more of his books? That's the reason. Actually, that's the main reason. Then and then that's the next reason is because, oh yeah, I heard and I read one of his books, and then I want to read more. Yeah.
I'm so lucky Kim Tae-hyung doesn't like reading, so I don't have to read whatever book he recommends.
Sorry?
I'm so lucky Kim Tae-hyung doesn't like to read, so I don't have to read whatever books he recommends.
RM didn't recommend this particular book, but because Kafka on the Shore is I got bored. My friends lent me the book, and also my sister lent me the other book of Haruki. Then I decided, okay, I haven't heard about this one a bit more because the others were more popular comparing this one, so that's why I read it as well.
Well, Norwegian Wood has the movie, right? It has a
I think so.
turned into a movie. But Kolor Sukuru, I hear it even more. That's why even what's the other one? It's put in the IB, International Baccalaureate World of Prescribed Literature List or something.
Mm.
So IB students have to read one of Murakami's books. But I personally skeptical. I'm kind of skeptical. Is it blown out of proportion? I read it a little bit, but it wasn't that interesting in my opinion.
It's okay, Pipit. It's okay to have different opinions, but I do enjoy, and then that's what I'm thinking about his book. Any other questions or comments? I think no, because it's already 3:06 as well. So thank you everyone for coming, and okay, sure. Wait.
Rizka Ami, turn on cam. Where did your friend go, Donald? Donald.
Yeah, he has something to do. You wrote in the chat.
Sorry, I can't. Okay, how about Rizka? I saw you were turning on your cam, but it doesn't show.
Yeah, it doesn't show. I don't know what's wrong. I have no
I will
idea.
edit you in.
Yeah, as usual.
Donald, you want to show your, okay, I cannot see, the reflection is too big, Edo, too reflective, so cannot see. Sorry? You're
Oh
muted?
yeah, it's
Yeah,
like a mirror.
The book is full in white, so
Oh, it white?
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the
Literally.
title only embossed on it, so it's like literally quiet. So.
Okay, guys, I was about to say something about this book. You see, this book is talking about environment, but this book is very thick, such a waste of paper. I was about to say that. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
I just grabbed the nearest book.
Good, yes.
Yes, grab a dictionary.
You have
funny,
a lot of
usually-
book at the back.
Yeah, but
Usually
then
Maybe it's just the
Mike
one.
Usually
don't
Mike
wanna-
does that. Usually Mike does a dictionary, grabs dictionary. Okay, so I will just turn off the recording.